High on Thursday, 80 to 83. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
The Ocala Golf Club, one of Ocala's premier golf courses, from its pristine 18-hole course layout to its amazing pro shop. Jason Linhart and the staff at Ocala Golf offer everything that you need for your golf outing. That's the Ocala Golf Club. Experience country club style golf at municipal prices. You won't go wrong with the Ocala Golf Club. Call them for a tee time today, 352-401-6917.
Hey, Matt, I know Sonrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new truck.
Yep, we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sonrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
Auto repair with personal care. We know what we're talking about. Matt Gibbs and the guys over at Sonrise Automotive will treat you right. We'll treat you right.
It is time for Auto Repair with Personal Care with Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Auto. Matt, good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I keep practicing in the mirror to get that right.
I think you got it down now, Tom.
I doubt it. I played college football, shots to the head. I doubt it.
You'll sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning you'll start up and start all over again.
So, Matt, it's the rainy season. It has showed up. The rainy season always makes me think that's also a good time to start doing the maintenance, your yearly maintenance on your car, because to me, and I could be wrong with this, but to me, where we live, the roughest part of the season or the year for cars where we live is the summertime because of the heat. Just like up in Minnesota, if you live in International Falls, Minnesota, the worst part of the year for your car is the wintertime.
Yes, sir.
So with the summertime coming up, right before the summertime is when you start doing your maintenance items and stuff. What is a good rule of thumb for what to look for to do on the yearly maintenance that you do that may not be an oil change, but it's something that you need to do to make sure you take care of your car?
And I, the one thing is that we got to change. See, the car maintenance stuff is kind of changing a little bit, and I'll tell you why. A lot of the materials that we're using, a lot of fluids that we're using now are completely full synthetics. So full synthetics they last longer, they're more durable than the basic conventional fluids that we've been dealing with for years and years and years. So it may not even be a yearly thing now. It may be a bi-yearly thing.
Once every 2 years.
2 years. So, it's funny you bring that up. And I had to take a customer home I took him to work before I came to the radio station. But I had a customer that went to a dealer here in town for a warranty issue, like a recall. And they went in, brought the car in for the recall, and they came out with a $3,200 estimate. Okay.
You went in for a recall, which the company's supposed to replace for free.
Yeah, they did.
And come out with a $3,200 estimate.
Yeah.
That sounds like a sales guy in the service department. By the way, a lot of those guys are sales guys because they're trying to sell you services. Sounds like somebody was a little short this month and needed to make a quota or something.
So I actually took a photo. I copied it.
Right.
Okay, and it's like, okay, they had all these maintenance items. So there was a brake flush, there was a power steering flush, there was a transmission flush, there was a cooling system flush. And so just these 4 flushes at $180 per flush doesn't.
That's $800.
It doesn't take long, and so how I've owned a company I've owned Sonrise for 25 years now, and I'm thinking, okay, so what is the flush? What does it mean to flush?
I've never heard. To be honest with you, I don't know much about cars except my dad was a mechanic. When you said power steering flush, I went, what the hell is that?
Exactly. So is a power steering flush like pulling a line off and letting it drain out and putting new fluid in? Now, I know what it should be. If you're going to flush it, you're going to flush it. You're going to let it go through the rack and pinion. Most cars have rack and pinions, so you want new fluid to go through there. Okay, and this is just the way. Maybe I just think wrong. Maybe I'm doing this all wrong, Tom. For 25 years, I'm doing this wrong. I know I haven't become a millionaire yet.
Have you made a good living?
I've been able to
take
raise.
Care of your kids?
I can take care of my kids.
And do you feel good about yourself
Yeah,
when
and
you
I
go to sleep at night?
Yeah,
okay, then you've probably been doing it right.
Okay. So, so this, and my thinking is when I was looking at this, explaining it, not because the customer wants to know, how come you haven't sold? That's why they can't. How come you haven't done this to my car?
Is my car in bad shape because you hadn't done this?
Right. The dealer's saying I need to get all this stuff done. Why haven't you done it? I bring my car here to have it serviced. So my perspective is this, and then maybe this is the right perspective, maybe it's the wrong perspective, but it's my perspective. So eventually, somewhere down the line, you're going to have a power steering hose failure, a rack and pinion failure. Something's going to need to be serviced and replaced on it. So at that point, we're going to put all the fluid in it. You know, at some point, a caliper may hang up or wheel cylinder leak. You're going to get all new brake fluid with it. You know, the old motto: if it's not broke, don't mess with it.
Fix it.
Exactly. So,
well, like I'm going to have brakes done within the next 10,000 miles.
Okay.
And I'm going to have rotors because my rotors have been shaved once before, and now when I press the brake at about 50 miles an hour,
you got the shaky shakes.
The steering wheel shakes in my hand, but it's warped rotors because they got thin, they got heated. Yeah. I read through a mud puddle or something. I cooled them off. They're warped.
Right.
That happens.
It happens.
So I'm going to have to get rotors replaced and everything. They're going to replace brake fluid then, correct?
Well, they won't replace the brake fluid, not necessarily, because what you do is if your brake pads are wore out,
right?
Okay, so your piston has it has the piston. Your caliper has a piston in it. So once you just take a C clamp, they make a tool, and you push the piston back in the caliper.
Right.
Put the new pads on, put new rotors on it. Boom, boom, you're done.
So you may not need fluid.
You may not. Now, if you go to bring the piston in, and it's not going in easy and smooth, now we may need to replace a caliper. And now if we replace a caliper, then yes, we're going to go ahead and we're going to replace all the fluid.
Just slap that microphone.
I got it. Bam. So that's just the way I look at it. And, like I say, I may have been looking at it wrong for all these years, but.
Well, like when I just replaced my water pump. I'm sure when I replaced my water pump, because the guy told me, he said we went ahead and replaced all the hoses that go to that water pump. We replaced the little plastic piece that goes from the motor to the water pump, because a lot of people reuse that plastic piece. Well, we don't. We replace it, because if your pump's bad, that piece is eventually going to go bad.
That's right.
And we replaced all your coolant.
Yeah, makes sense.
So why do I need a flush?
You don't. And that's what happens. A lot of times, like people, they'll have a water pump put on last month. Now they'll come in because of the season, and we're going to get our cooling system flushed. It's $180. Well, you just had it flushed when you replaced the water pump. You're good for 2 years.
If you didn't have it flushed, you got a bad mechanic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you had to have it replaced at least because it's all going to come out.
Yeah, the green fluid was all over the ground when my water pump went.
Exactly.
Seized up, busted the serpentine belt. Oh.
Yep, there you go.
Messed it all up. Hi, caller, you're on with Matt Gibbs.
Yes, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Say, Matt, I drive very few. I drive probably maybe not even 3,000 miles a year. It's all these little city short hops. I use synthetic oil. I know that kind of driving is harder on oil than taking long trips, I guess. Is it all right just to have that? I always kind of figured I have my oil change once a year. Is that? Am I doing right?
Yeah. What kind of car you got? What kind of car is that?
Buick Enclave.
Buick Enclave. What year?
2012.
Okay, well, it really doesn't matter what year. I just wanted to say that. But yes, it's absolutely okay. As long as you don't have a carburetor, I think you're pretty much good.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, because a carburetor, the fuel inside the carburetor bowl would eventually leak out and run down into the motor and contaminate the oil. We don't do that. Yeah. We don't do that today.
What kind of shelf life is there for like a synthetic oil if you don't drive a lot?
Well, a shelf life, there's it's shelf life is it's going to be forever on the shelf. But once a year, Hugh, I'd say once a year you're perfect.
You're only putting 3,000 miles on it a year. I get mine changed once every 5,000 miles.
Right.
I
Now,
don't worry about the date anymore.
Right.
I just get it
right,
5,000 miles.
Right. And see, and I go every 6,000 because of the oil that I'm using. And here's another thing, a tall tale that you can do when you check your oil.
Thanks for the call, Hugh.
When you're checking your oil, because if you're going to check it, if you're going to only change it once a year, that's the biggest problem that I see with people go extended time.
Make sure there's oil in there.
Make sure there's oil in it, because even if a little leak after a year, it can. Okay, so check your oil, and when you do smell the oil, if you don't smell gas, don't worry about gas.
And if you don't smell burnt.
If it's not burnt, if it looks clear, if it's clean, then just go on with it.
Or come to Matt Gibbs and use the oil they use, and you don't have those problems.
Well, even with the oil that we use, you still gotta.
What's that oil again?
It's Schaefer's oil.
Schaefer's oil.
Yeah, it's still, I use Schaefer's oil in my Tahoe, and I go 6,000 miles, and just the other day I had to add a half a quart. I checked my oil level. I don't know why.
I don't.
I don't. Most of the time, I don't either.
I couldn't even tell you where to check it on a Cadillac.
I'll teach you. I'll show you.
I'm sure I could figure it out.
Yeah.
It's probably got an oil thing.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
it's yellow.
Yeah, I'm sure I could
it's
probably
the yellow
figure it
one.
out. Yeah.
Just go for the yellow one.
Figure it out. But let me ask, this is something somebody asked me to ask you. A friend of mine, he's a car guy.
Okay.
But he has nice cars, but he's not a car guy.
Okay.
He said, because he's a clean freak.
Okay.
His cars are immaculate. He drives a car that's probably 15 years old that looks like it could be on the showroom.
Okay.
An Acura. Looks like it could be on the showroom. How often is it necessary, or is it ever necessary, to clean your engine? And when I mean clean your engine, you know how they go in and they pressure wash it. I don't know what they do to it, but they knock all the road dirt and everything off the engine and everything. Is that necessary? And if it is necessary, how often should it be done?
Is it necessary? That's kind of a tricky question. So if you have an issue like an oil leak or some kind of leak and it's letting dirt and gook and, then yeah, it's not,
Like you raised my Cadillac right now, and it's dusty looking under there, but it's not. There's no grime or no oil grime or anything like that.
It's not like you have to do it. I do mine twice a year because I just get the whole car fully detailed. A lot of people think, oh, I can detail my car. No, you can probably wash your car. You can probably vacuum your car. You might even be able to wax your car. But I get my car detailed, and they do it from under the hood from the front bumper to the back bumper.
About $250.
Yeah, it's a $200 deal.
Right.
But they do it all, and I get my engine cleaned, and it allows me. I'm funny about, as much as it's clean on the top of it, I want it clean on the bottom of it too.
Yeah.
So I'll actually do the bottom myself. I clean it. I spray it with either Purple Power, Simple Green, or Code Red. I wash it down. I blow it all off, and then I give it to the detailer, and he does the top and does all the stuff. But you can get underneath my Tahoe, and my Tahoe has 160,000 miles on it, and there's not one drop of nothing. Now there's little bits of stains where things seep out, but there's nothing that leaks out.
Does cleaning your motor once every 6 months, something like that, does it help you notice when things come up with hoses and stuff like that better because it's just a cleaner area and so you see things better?
I think so. For me, it does, because it makes me look at stuff. And the other side of it is if you're going to go home and I'm going to go buy my own little degreaser. I'm going to Simple Green everything, and depending on what kind of car it is, see, there's a lot of these cars, they don't have spark plug wires anymore. They're coilovers. And especially 4-cylinders, because let's just say the engine is straight down and the spark plugs are straight down inside the head and the coils are on top, and you go up there with a water hose and you start washing them things down and you get water on top of them coils, you're going to have a big problem. And immediately, within no time at all, you're going to burn out those coils. And figure those coils are going to be $60 to $100 a piece. So really pay attention. If you're going to do this, if this is something you're going to do at home, if you get something wet and it starts up and it's spitting and sputtering, 99% of the time you done filled up a spark plug hole with a bunch of water, and it's not going to be good.
And that's not good. Electricity and water ain't good.
No, it's not going to work out well for you. And then you're going to spend a whole lot of money cleaning the engine. So just be careful.
622-9622 is the number if you have a question for Matt Gibbs. He's here to take your calls, to answer any of your questions that you may have automotive-wise. Or, hey, Matt Gibbs has the answer for everything. Just I bet right now if you called in and said, Matt, who was going to win the Super Bowl between Tampa Bay and Kansas City, he'd be able to give you the answer.
Yeah. I lost that deal.
I did not.
You did not?
I took Tampa Bay on the money line.
Did you?
Yeah, I took Tampa Bay to win the game outright.
Outright.
Yep.
So you did good.
I plus 165.
There you go.
For every dollar you bet, you made $1.65.
I don't bet on stuff like that, but I do have. We did have a house full of people, and we
Right.
were. Yeah.
You would have never thunk it.
But you know what? There was a part of me, but it was only that much of me, but there was still a part of me that was kind of hoping for Brady. Not that he needed to win another Super Bowl.
Well, he's won 7 now.
But I think the whole New England organization.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I wanted Tampa Bay to win just to thumb my nose at New England.
Well, me too.
Hey, and if he stays around 4 more years, he may get one for every finger on both hands.
He might.
To end up dragging his knuckles on the ground, all that gold and everything he got on his hands. When we're talking about maintenance, though, we talked about batteries earlier and how the winter can deal with batteries. On a 36-month battery, because now batteries are like milk jugs. Somebody's figured out the exact. I don't know how how you know milk's going sour. I don't know if like the cow comes to the door and goes, hey, Mr. Farmer, that batch I just gave you, February 23rd, bad. After that, it's terrible. I don't know how they know the exact date. The cow comes up and tells, look, this one will stretch till February 25th, but that's the last I can do for you. I don't know if that's how the cow works in the milk, but batteries are a lot. You got a 36-month battery. It'll last. But sometimes they last 24 months. Sometimes they last 48 months.
They do.
When is a good time to start checking, and how do you check the efficiency of your battery to know whether it's going bad or is it just something that you come out and it goes click, 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 and you're like, oh, God, the battery's dead?
Well, a lot of times before it goes click, 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 if you really are paying attention when you're starting a car, they pretty much give you a
when
sign.
It drags a little
bit, and then it's like, hey, can you check the health of this battery? And we have a machine we hook it up to, and it puts a load on it, and it does all the stuff, and we can pretty easily determine whether or not this battery is gonna how many more clicks it's got left in it. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so here's the deal. So it's just like these bulbs in here. You might come in here tomorrow and 2 of them go out.
Yeah,
and
gone.
But they all were put in at the same exact time.
Yes.
So there is no real true rhyme or reason, but we do understand that they do have a life. And in 3 years, see, you remember back in the day, you'd buy a battery and it was like a 5-year battery. Everybody go to Sears, go buy a Die
Oh,
Hard.
yeah, and then you take the top off of it when you get a little low. You put
a little distilled water
water in there. You're good to go.
You're good to go. And it's 5 years, but if the battery went bad in 3 years, 6 months, and 3 days, and then you had to have
got a month and 1 year, 3 months, and 2 days of credit towards the next battery purchase.
I never was smart enough to figure out the credit side of it.
It was always less than $10. No, you pay $150 for that battery. I got a year and a half left, $10.
That's because they were like me and couldn't figure out how to do it.
It always seemed that whatever life you had left on that battery, money-wise, was just eat up by the core charge. So you're just going to be a wash with the core charge.
So nowadays, and I sell batteries that I get from AutoZone. And the reason I get them, they've been really reliable and good batteries for us. And there's 3,000 AutoZones around the country. So if I put in a battery from AutoZone, if it's 3 years, it's automatic free replacement, and they'll replace it for you.
Right. Within that 3 years, they'll replace it.
Within that 3 years.
There's no, you had it for 2 years, 4 months. There's none of that anymore.
Nope, it's 3 years.
If it's within that 30, if it's within that mark on the wax pin on the battery, if it's within that,
yep.
You get a new battery.
There is no, we don't even mark the battery.
You don't even mark them anymore?
Because it's all done on a computer. Oh, I bought this at Sonrise Automotive in Ocala. Oh, there it is. I don't care if you're in Los Angeles, California. They can look at, there it is.
Oh, well, I didn't know that.
So it makes it easy for the customer.
Hi, caller, you're on with Matt Gibbs.
Hey, Matt, Tom.
Hey, Sonny.
Sonny calling.
Hey, Sonny.
You could tell if batteries starting to go if you charge them up. I charge mine every now and then. I have the old-fashioned type of charger with the rectifier and the transformer and the whole 9 yards in that thing. What happens is you charge it up and it charges real fast, the battery it's on its way out. If you're charging it up and it takes a long time to charge, that battery's still pretty good because it won't discharge. It's like if it takes a while to charge up, it'll take a while to discharge, or starts. But anyway, that's one of the things I go by, and I don't know what you think about it, Matt, but I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks for the call, Sonny.
Yep. Yeah, I put them on a charger. I got a machine. It charges them, it checks them, it loads them, it checks the health, and if it needs to be charged, it automatically charges it. When it goes through its process, I walk over, I push a button, and it tells me what I need to do.
What's the difference between, say, because we have a dead battery issue. We've talked about it. My fiance's nephew's car's got a dead battery. What's the difference between me taking the Cadillac over there, putting new jumper cables on it? It's so dead that it takes about 30 minutes of running with the Cadillac to get enough charge to turn it over. What's the difference between that and a slow trickle charge that you would do overnight with a battery charger? What's the difference between the two, and why is one better than the other?
Well, I would definitely I am opposed nowadays of taking your car and putting it on somebody else's car, just because of all the electronics and all the silly, stupid things that can happen. And you would be surprised. We get them towed in. It's all I do is try to jump this guy off, and now you done something,
right?
Because it's done messed up some stuff. So a trickle charge, if you've got one dead, and it'll take it a long time. So basically, it's putting out amperage. We don't really care about volts. 12 volts is 12 volts, but it's the amperage, is the amount of force.
The cranking amps, and that's what you got to have. They say, you got to have so many amps to turn a car over.
Right. And you got so you're going to be putting amps, you're putting power back into that battery. So if you're only putting 2 amps in it, you're doing it real slow, and it's going to take a while to get enough amperage, enough power in that battery to turn over the starter. So, and it's kind of like a baby. You have a baby. I had 6 kids. This baby you can lay on its back. This baby you don't lay on its back. This baby you put on the side. No, this baby you put on the left side, not on the right side. Every time we had a baby, it was different rules to this baby. And it's kind of like the same thing about charging a battery. When I was working at the dealership, GM would say, "Okay, I want these batteries." If you had to charge up a battery, you do it at 2 amps. Then a couple of weeks later, now we're going to do it at 4 amps. No, now we're going to do it at 50 amps. It's like y'all make up your mind because y'all can't figure out how to charge up a battery anymore. So I give it the juice.
Okay.
If it doesn't take the juice, my machine.
Because I got to get it to you somehow. So
Hey, come by and I'll let you. I got a jump box. Take my jump box.
Okay, I may do that.
I'll let you take it home, and you can jump off the car and bring it in. Now, what you got to be careful, because you might put it. Have you had it jumped off?
Oh yeah.
And once you get it jumped off, it runs.
It runs.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I already took the positive cable off, and it still runs.
Okay.
So the alternator's good.
Okay. I just want to make sure you get it all
the
the way to the
alternator's
shop.
good. Hi, caller. You're on with Matt Gibbs.
Yeah. When you've had to jump off a battery, it probably means that it needs to be replaced. If you do that too many times, you're going to kill an alternator from being full fielded too many times.
Thanks for the call, Jim. What did he just say?
Okay, so and here's another thing.
He's smarter than I am, so I need you to explain what Jim just said.
So what he's saying is a regulator. So alternators are, let's say if it's a 120 amp alternator. So that means if your battery voltage is low, that alternator is capable of generating 120 amps to put back into the battery to get it fully charged. So as the battery charges, the amperage of the alternator decreases. Okay.
Right.
So what he's saying is if you keep jumping one off with a dead battery, well, that alternator's full on. It's full on every time. It's full on. And it's going to, just like Sonny was talking about a few minutes.
It was at 120 amps, constantly
putting it out there saying, because you're dead, I need to go, and I need to go. And just like Sonny was saying how he uses a charger with a rectifier and same thing as inside an alternator, there's rectifiers in there. So you got this thing pumping out all it can pump out. and it can damage the alternator. Now, here's the thing I want everybody that drives a Chrysler to be very, very aware of. Well, a Chrysler does not have an internal voltage regulator in the alternator. It is in the computer. So whenever you're doing that, jumping one off with a Chrysler product,
you can fry the computer.
You can fry the whole computer system.
Ooh, that's
so
no good.
Let them charge up for a little bit before you go starting.
No bueno. No bueno. Matt Gibbs, Auto Repair with Personal Care with Sonrise Auto. Thanks, Matt. See you next week.
Yes, sir.
Bye. WOCA, the source.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pride.
Senate leadership announced on Monday that they have reached a deal in the framework for former President Trump's impeachment trial, which will start on Tuesday.
All parties have agreed to a structure that will ensure a fair and honest Senate impeachment trial of the former president.
The timeline would allow the trial to wrap up as early as next week if both sides agree not to call witnesses. Now with the news that Congress is considering lowering the income eligibility threshold for the third round of stimulus payments from $75,000 to $50,000 for individuals and from $150,000 for married couples to $100,000, some are calling it an attack on the middle class. Major League Baseball and the MLB Union reached an agreement Monday night on health and safety protocols that will cover the 2021 spring training and the regular season. Spring training is scheduled to begin February 17th. USA Radio News.
The stress levels of Americans may be at an all-time high. From education to business to basic needs to politics, the 2020 pandemic-related stressors are pushing many of us to near breaking point. That's why you should consider the stress and pain-relieving products from sunny-bay.com, like our lavender neck wraps and pads infused with premium Washington lavender buds. They relieve tension and relax with a soothing scent of lavender. And lifestyle expert Jennifer Bonner recommends products from Sunny Bay.
Sunny Bay's hands-free neck wrap should be your go-to pain relief solution.
Give gifts to family and friends that relieve stress and pain. Give love and care by giving the best. Give pillows